Go.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's wee Paddy, and that's Jud. And this is our friend Joe from Canada, the custom knife maker that we met a few weeks ago. And when I said at the time he was going to send us some knives over to have a look at, review, and let some of the YouTube reviewers in the country have a look at and review, I knew I was going to like it. I just didn't know how much I was going to like. I loved the outline of it. I loved what I seen on the picture. But until you get something in the hand, you are sort of, you're blowing in the wind until it comes. And I have had plenty of times in my life where I've seen something on Blade HQ or wherever. It comes to your door and you think, it didn't really look like that when I looked at it. You know what I mean? So it happens that it doesn't always. But I'm happy to say with Joe's knife, I said it yesterday, it's the Grail knife I didn't know I had or wanted until I got it in my hand. It is just a stunner. So I have two of the models. This one's in carbon fiber. This one's in burlap micarta, but there'll also be a plain green micarta and probably a neutral, Joe. And
there's going to be a handful of options available,
yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah.
And they're going to keep changing. And the nice thing is, and eventually when Joe gets settled down and people get their knives, he's hoping to bring out scales that will be swappable to any one of the knives you get that you can buy separately. So that's a really good point for me, because not all of us have a whole lot of money, but when I pay something, this is not wildly expensive, by the way. I don't think so. This is not wildly expensive, but I really wouldn't have the money to buy 3 or 4 of them. You know what I mean? So it'll be nice to change the scales once a year or something like that, just to freshen your knife up and still have a good knife. So we'll talk about them. Did you manage to do that?
Well, here's hoping.
I've got some close-up pictures here. We've just tried to put it on, and I just want to show you. Sorry, Joe, I'm sort of keeping you out. If we put the pictures up, you want to talk through the knife, please do.
Well, but keep on talking for the minute until such times as I've actually found it. So
thank you for everybody for joining. And I'm really glad that Joe was able. We've been talking back and forward since 5 o'clock this morning. So it's been a long day trying to get hold of dealers and things like that. So he's hoping to get a dealer here in the UK. And a lot of you know who it is. No, can't do. Oh, okay. Damn.
Well, we'll sort it out another time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Right. Okay. Well, we can still show the knife anyway. So, dealers, we've spoke to you, and Frank is just waiting to see these knives. This one's gone off to him on Sunday night, so you get it on Tuesday morning. He's going to speak with Joe, and they'll sort out the arrangement that business people do, and I have no idea about. This is where I let go completely. But they're going to hopefully be available through Frank, and that means you're not having to worry about customs. That'll all be sorted out going through Frank. But if there's people like me who are impatient and you want the knife now before everybody gets their orders in, because I think there's going to be a clamor to start with, definitely.
Well, given the fact that I'm not a friction folder guy and I've just seen this today, I have to say that I think it's amazing. I mean, now the one thing I am is I do like custom knives, and I do like bespoke handmade knives, and
it feels very bespoke.
And it does. It's a thing of beauty, if nothing else. I mean, just look at this thing. I mean, let's see if we can get the light.
Let's see if I can get it up and get the blade for you.
Go ahead,
I can get a bit closer.
I'm trying to get the milling on the blade, because that's what really sets it apart. There's sort of like ribs running down the length of the depth of the blade, and it's just incredible. It's a lovely.
There's a couple of knives have this milling on the blade, Joe. What do you know what they're called?
Yeah, so it's generally referred to as step milling, because that's how it's performed.
Yeah.
But there's let's see, and I don't mean to compare myself with them in any other way, but Grimsmo makes a model called the Norseman. So they're actually another Canadian outfit out near Toronto. So they're pretty famous for their blade milling. Once upon a time, another Canadian maker called North Arm made the Skaha, and that knife also. Yeah, unfortunately, when I ordered my Skaha, they just sent me one with a flat grind, no milling.
Yeah, they've changed that now.
Maybe it'll show up okay on my camera here. Yeah, it shows up kind of okay.
Hold on a second, let me make you big. Making you big now there, Joe. Go for it again.
Excellent. Yeah, so there's the milling lines there. I'll actually show you. This is just a brown rich light, but I'll show you the carbon fiber too, the multi-layer and the blade there. Yeah. So it's step milling. The number one question I get, the step milling, and I think we talked about this last time on stream, so I won't dwell on it too much, but does it affect cutting performance? In my experience, no. Paddy here has been cutting through a bunch of cardboard. Apparently it hasn't hindered him at all. So
this is mine, and I've been using it now for 2 days constantly on everything I can, and I haven't touched it. By the way, it's 20 CV, which is a huge upgrade on most friction folders you're going to buy. It is just slicing. It's beautiful. You don't feel the ridges at all, and it went through thick cardboard like butter. It was just beautiful, and it's probably one of the safest friction folders I've ever handled. And I think that's quite important for somebody who's maybe just new about and thinks, oh, what's going to stop that? You look at this tang here. This is a friction folder, so it's just a blade that runs through on the tang, and it's held in place by, there's a little bit of friction when you do it, and you can tighten or loosen this. It's on barrels and not just on a little screw going through. This is upmarket. You've got jimping on the top here, and here's another thing. If you see that jimping, it goes from the micarta right across to the other side, and it's exactly lined up in every step. It looks spectacular. I know that's maybe not a big thing, but it's actually comfortable but serious. It holds your finger there. It's not going to pull the skin off you. But my joy is this tang here is the perfect size because when it's open, the tang is coming down to here. Look at that. And your whole thumb, where you naturally grab a knife, is right on top of it. So I can hit this, and I am not going to cut myself.
Just, I mean, as everybody is probably aware, he hits me harder than he's hitting that knife. Well, I mean, I probably deserve it more. This knife is probably more special to him than I could ever hope to.
Shut up. So this, even if you were holding it and you forgot to put your thumb on it, which I can't really think somebody's going to forget to put their thumb on the knife, but if you did, when you close it, this part of the tang here sticks in. It will give you a nasty nip, but it will not cut your finger. You'd really have to work hard to cut your finger with this knife, which is really, I just think look, I'm happy with slip joints. I'm happy with friction folds. It doesn't matter to me. But there is people out there who have this fear that they're going to get cut easier. Definitely not.
Okay, right. I'm going to hold Joe, and I'm going to put you on pause for a second here, because Stephen has dived right into this, because obviously he's had the knife for a couple of days. He has been so excited. It is unbelievable. A child on Christmas Day has nothing on this man and the excitement for this knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to inject a little bit of calm, a little bit of control. And first of all and foremost, and Joe, I hope you don't mind to detract a little bit of attention, I'm going to say hello to everybody in the chat box at the moment, because we have a bunch of people in already. We've got 32 on the count, and we've had people now, because I checked on you weirdos beforehand. I was actually on when I was setting this up at about when I was looking at it about 5 or 6 o'clock this afternoon, and I know Ghost you were in, and I don't know what you were doing, but I know you were in, Sean. So yeah, so you've got some explaining to do, but you weren't the only one. So I don't know what's going on out there, but it is awful nice to have you guys here. You've got Angelo, we've got Ghost Malone, we've got Gaz FM, Alan, Reese, we've got Tony's Ponies, Baron's in from Splitting Slices.
I can't get used to Baron and Splitting Slices.
I know, but I just have to remind myself all the time. And it's really nice that he's here right from the get-go. So I hope you're not too busy today, Baron. We've got Kathleen in, we've got Spiros in, and we have Mikey in here somewhere as well. We have Midnight Crisis, the man with the best handle for a knife channel on YouTube anywhere. It's just
Midnight
crisis.
Midnight
Just
crisis.
awesome.
That's really good.
Although in saying that, we do have a bone to pick with you and a thank you to give you for the prayers you gave up for Paddy on his for Stephen on his last sharpening video, where he really needed some divine intervention.
Do you ever know when you know you're making a fool of yourself? You know you should be stopping and going back to the beginning again, and you can't make yourself do it because you're too proud. That was what happened, and I made a right holics, and I posted it just to sicken myself.
But here's the thing, Stephen, you're working on a paradox here, okay? Because yes, you're making a fool of yourself, and yes, you're proud, but at the same time, we do this every Thursday night. We make fools of ourselves. We demonstrate that we're demonstrably not very proud.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when things go right and when things are gone wrong, but some of the comments on that were brilliant. I know Kathleen was saying as well, and Kathleen picked up on something that I thought as well, which was that it's really nice to see somebody who's,
oh, that's for a fan, not for you. I thought this was you. Yeah,
she's trying to shut me up. Kathleen was saying it's really nice to see something where the mistakes and all are made, so that you can be kind of reassured that there's a process in this and that anybody can make mistakes along the way. There was one comment that somebody made that said something about at least now the knife, with all the wear and tear that Stephen subjected it to, it's been worn down to a more suitable size for me. I told you guys about this and before. You stop picking on the wee fella. Stop picking on the wee fella. So we've got Alana, we've got Retro Stew, and we've got Mikey Newman in, and it's always a pleasure to see Mikey, if only to get him away from buying knives. He gets to look at knives, but he at least might stop him buying them, at least for a minute. And we've got RJ's in, and just to do RJ a favor, because he has asked so nicely, apparently he's just 9 subs away from 2K. So please, 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 if you have not subscribed to RJ's Knives, go on now and help push him over the 2K barrier. It would do him an absolute huge solid. And it's the least because he is almost the godfather of lives. He started this whole thing, and we have an awful lot to be thankful for. So,
and he's just a nice man.
He's an awfully nice man.
Really nice man.
He's an awful lot nicer than you.
Much nicer than me.
So go give RJ a sub and get him over the edge there, fellas.
If you're in that, go and do it now, and then come back in again and let us know if you've done it. Let's see if we can get him to that figure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, subscribe on this one. Yeah, you have to reverse the camera. I don't know how you do that.
Oh, we'll figure it out at some point. We've got Gizmo in, and we've got Stephen Wallace in. We've got Pens and Pen Blades. So we've got some new folk in as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Pens and Pen Blades. I was commenting on one of his videos. Nice videos. Another nice channel. Go and check him out.
And then we've got That's About Us. That's pretty much
it's really nice to have 33 in this early. That's lovely. So I really appreciate it. And you've picked a good night to come along because, as you've seen, Joe is our custom maker from Canada here, and we really want to welcome to our shores. And I know I've been talking about it, but and now I've got it in hand. All the excitement was worth it because it's just.
I love it when you get excited. It's hilarious.
But the nice thing ever. I know it's not a nice thing to Sally, but the nice thing, me and Justin have skin in these. We have money in these.
Yeah.
Both have money in them. And that makes it nicer that, yes, Joe was going to send one for review for nothing. Circumstances happened, but we both got our sort of half price in these, which is just, it gives me, I feel more, I can be more honest when you've got skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not, now it was going to be, but it's not, but I just want to know, I paid for it, and I'm happy to pay for it. That's the nice thing.
Me too. I mean, I didn't even hesitate, I must admit, when I saw them. So, and apart from anything else, from our conversation last time and from our short conversation with Joe so far, I mean, the proof of the pudding's going to be in the eating. Maybe when he sells us half a dozen knives, the quality will fall out, and he'll be sending us crap for the rest of that. But I get a general feeling that that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
this is a man who's concerned about the detail. I mean, Joe, it sounds to me like you're a perfectionist at the best of time. Who are you driving mad in your personal life at this point?
Oh, Mostly myself.
Like a true custom maker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely, and I got into it at a good time too. When I got my milling machine, my Tormach, that was about the time that I think John Grimsmo had his for some time, and he was one of the people I saw talking about it. And I saw how obsessed he was with chasing perfection, and it was this little mental check of like, I got to be careful because he and I seem to think in similar ways, and I don't want to get caught down the rabbit hole of chasing, absolute perfection. But there's still like, no, I can fix this. I can refine it. I can make it better. There's better processes. There's better materials. It's a balancing act, not hyper focusing too much. That's the big thing, for me at least.
Yeah. Well, I think when you do that, then it adds about another 2 years to the molding it to what you like state to get it sold.
Yes, and I think this is where like potentially a version 2, the maybe further down the line there might be other changes, like we were talking about different handle configurations, for instance. Like there's all kinds of things that can be done, but I really don't like sending stuff out unless I'm 100% happy with it. And I think any good maker should feel that way, but I feel like it's important to just reiterate,
There's a company in America, it's American Blade Works. The fella has spent so many years doing the one knife and perfecting it. He's got 6 different models of it, and the 6th is his final model. Now, that's not just 6 years. There was a lot of years before that as well. But the last 6 years, he's updated until he's now got the knife to where I don't think I could do any more with it. Yeah. And he's gone on to something else. So you have that sort of thing that I think you're just not going to be happy until it is. I mean, I don't know what you can do to improve this genuinely. Do you have anything that you've got in the pipeline? I suppose that's secret, isn't it?
I mean, sort of yes, sort of no. As far as this particular design goes, it's been so successful with the people that I've sent it out to for so long that I don't imagine there's going to be a lot that I'll change. I've thought about experimenting with hollow ground blades instead of going with the flat, and I know it's stepped, right? But I mean the general curve. We've talked about. May as well put that cat out of the bag. The potential of eventually integral handles, but that requires a totally different setup. That's much more complicated to get right. Just ask Grimsmo. He's working on one now too. I know I keep bringing him up, but there's a lot of funny parallels there. Again, not saying my stuff is near that caliber, but I'm also not charging all that much for my work either. Yeah. I think from here, if I'm going to do differences to this knife, I may do like an entirely different version. Like call it this one. I've named the Academic. I'll probably end up calling the next one something else a bit more reflective of the design process. But for now, I'm very happy with supporting this model. Yeah.
I did not know it was called the Academic. How thick! I just seen the knife. I didn't even care it had a name.
Well, to be fair, I only named it somewhat recently too. So. Talk about taking your time until you're happy.
The obvious question is why the Academic, Joe?
So I actually attended the Alberta College of Art and Design when I was designing this knife. And a lot of my design language for this knife came as a direct result of the friction folder I carried basically all the time up until I made this, was the Sport Peasant. And I wanted to do a friction folder for a variety of reasons, but being that I am a child who can't resist a good pun. ACAD, Academic, had to happen.
I see.
This was a knife I developed as a student, and it's very reflective of my learning process during that time. Like, there's a lot of things I don't know I would have necessarily thought about had I not gone through. For those interested, I have a bachelor's in jewelry and metals. So, basically making anything related to like gold, silver, mokume, setting stones, that kind of thing. There's a lot of design process that comes into that.
Yeah. I'll just answer this question quickly. Are they UK legal? Absolutely UK legal. There's the blade there. Oh.
I was going to say, darn, I sure hope so.
It is literally 3 inches exactly when you put it up to the hilt. 3 inches exactly. It's less if you want to take it to where the cutting edge starts, but it's going to eventually be 3 inches anyway. So this is future-proofed it, if you know what I mean. It's going to be 3 inches. And it's a good 3 inches. This feels like a proper, if you put it, let me put it up against something that everybody knows. No, you haven't got to. This is here's a bug out. And I'm just going to give you a blade size, because this blade can do everything this one can do, in my opinion. There's our blade compared to a bug out. Oh, there we go. Can you see? There's not that much difference in size. I mean, I would not feel undergunned if I had this with me as much as this. This might be a little bit thinner behind the edge, but not enough that I'm ever going to worry about it. You see, the thing I like about this is nearly like a paring knife as well.
Yeah.
You know, you could use this in the kitchen. You could use it. It's just a knife you can use. And because you've not got any complicated parts, to take this apart is really basic.
And keep it clean. Yeah,
and keep it clean.
Mhm.
And it's got lovely washers in there. The bronze washers are not bronze. What are they?
Copper. These ones are copper. Yeah.
Copper washers. And they'll get smoother and smoother with time. They're already smooth by the time you get them. I mean, this has come beautifully smooth. And to do it one-handed is so easy. It's not complicated or hard, because you know what my hands are like. So yeah. Oh,
we've got jeepers. He's a
that's
danger to himself.
That's a locking knife.
I know. Did you see the damage he did to himself when he was doing my chaparral?
Oh no!
I don't know. His whole hand is going to be covered. Let me just before we move on. Byron's put an interesting one in there, Joe, and just to throw it out there. Apparently, he knows a guy in Delaware who's trying to do the same, get on the same sort of step as you are in terms of setting up his CNC and starting to get into doing these handles and step mill blades. He seems to be interested in it as well. I think he's doing small but HD fixies. What's HD?
Heavy duty, maybe.
Could be.
Fixies,
So it might be even thicker bladed ones or whatever else. So, what would be your advice to somebody like that in terms of or you're learning from your own experience?
Good question.
Right. Yeah.
I've been doing it.
Don't be afraid to take your time. That's the big thing. Don't worry about rushing headlong into stuff. There's a time and a place for that, and it's called the design phase. When you're worrying about actually getting a product made, look at how other people are doing work. Do some investigation into your materials. How were they handled before you got them? I'll give you a heads up for one of the worst experiences I ever had. When I was learning how to machine high carbon steel. So 1095, you could buy it basically anywhere. Foundries and smelting companies all over produce it, right? So the way that it's stored sometimes is in giant coils, and it's shipped to a location, unrolled and cold flattened. Well, sometimes it's just and at other times it's just rolled flat to thickness. But either of those processes can add stresses to the steel. So if that steel isn't annealed properly before you get it, you need to make sure you normalize and then you anneal your steel after the fact. And in fact, annealing, normalizing, two different things. I didn't know this. I was young and foolish, and I set up my mill, and I thought I had everything clamped down. I was gonna flatten out some blade stock. When I removed the top surface of the steel, the entire thing bowed up.
Oh, no.
Because I was relieving stress on one side of the steel, but not the other. So it ruined the milling bit. It ruined the clamp that I had made to hold it, and it wrecked the steel, of course, because it was bent. So, and it took about like 3 or 4 days of doing some deep research into understanding how I went wrong, why I went wrong, and then figuring out a process to not do that again. So yeah, definitely take your time. There's lots of good information online. Don't be afraid to message me directly if you have specific questions about machining knife blades or getting profiling done. Like, I've already done a lot of that work. It's not overly complicated once you know the principles involved, but figuring it out the first time can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I can believe it. Yeah. I can believe it. So, Byron, if this is actually a friend of yours or an acquaintance or whatever else, where you're talking to the guy, point him in Iron Joe's direction, and hopefully there's some learning to be shared, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I think that's nice when companies like knife makers share their knowledge.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, they're not making a knife
Yeah.
for somebody, but they're giving them tips that's going to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, and as Ben always said, is that he got advice from from his peers in
everywhere.
the community, from everywhere, exactly. And it seems to be the way it works.
Yeah, it's nice when it does that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think my wee plug must be out there. One of them.
Right.
plugs.
Okay. We've got to
Sorry,
sort
but-
out a technical difficulty.
Yeah.
You talk to Joe and I'll see what I can find it.
I don't know what I've done.
Everything falling apart. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we are. We're seeing.
I pressed the wrong button.
We're in a wee small room, very close together, touching knees sometimes, which is
And as
Beautifully
we all,
romantic.
know, I'm hot stuff. So it.
so. We have a little fan up in the corner there, and if I don't have it on, I'll choke to death.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've got is we've got some new friction folder knives coming out from Joe. We've got you were saying, Joe, that you're in talks with Framear Knives to get these going.
Yes. So just talked with Frank on the phone actually today, not too long ago, for a good length of time there. He seems interested. Obviously, he wants to get them in hand before anything's finalized, but he sounds pretty excited. I'm not exactly sure about timelines is the one thing, but it doesn't take me long to make a batch of knives, so I'm not too concerned about that. We should be pretty happy with things going forward. I haven't talked with him about price, but I imagine we're going to come in around like the 170, 190 pound mark for you guys. We're going to try very hard to hit that price range, and I don't say that lightly. That is the effort. We're going to figure out all the details further on, so don't necessarily hold us to that hard, but we'll do our best.
And I mean,
one
for
of the big
20 CV knife with this quality of materials in terms of, I mean, we're talking about burlap micarta, carbon fiber. You're talking about rich light micarta as well as a step up or as another option. And you're even thinking about doing sort of, I mean, you've got an extra set of scales in here. Let me bring this up a wee bit here. So you're almost talking about accessorizing the knife so that you can change and swap the scales themselves. So that one knife can serve a multitude of functions, which gives even more value to it in many ways.
And the other thing is that's an achievement to get that precision milling that they can just change a scale and not have to do any addition to it. You know what I mean? That has to be perfect. Otherwise, you can make a right horse's ass of your knife.
A big part of the development process here was making sure that it was easy for me to swap between materials and being able to use different compounds if necessary. So it's that side of things. A lot of time and effort has gone into making sure that it just works. It's not a lot of mucking about or me changing prices all that bad. Obviously, carbon fiber is always going to be more. Well, I shouldn't say always, but nearly always going to be more expensive than micarta. There are exceptions, but
and yours is very nice carbon fiber. I'll have to say it's not the cheap-looking carbon fiber. It's very rich-looking, gentlemanly. You said, and I agree with that.
It's very elegant, I have to say.
But the thing is, I love it.
Really wish.
You can see it, Joe. You can see the
kind of shimmer in
I'm going to be doing a video probably tomorrow, Joe, and I'll do close-ups on all of them. So look out tomorrow for my video, folks.
Do you think you can sort of manage to have spent enough of the excitement to do an objective review of it?
Who gives it down?
That's a good point. That's why they come to you.
It's pretty, it's shiny. I want it. Mikey will back me up.
Mikey's not a reputable source. Now you can't trust that man. He'd buy anything if it was sharp and shiny.
When you like, if it's got looks, if it's got a bit of personality, you've got to buy it. I mean, come on.
Well,
you can buy as many.
It's definitely got looks, and it's definitely got personality.
Well, let's say you take that towards. Let's take it to a locking knife that's similar to that. The CEO, the CEO sort of thing is a slim knife, but it has not got the body that this has. When you hold it, it doesn't feel like a pen. Mm-hmm. It feels like a knife handle.
Yeah,
but it's still very slim,
and it sits slim in pocket as well.
Very slim in pocket. This is a little bit thicker, but I like this. I've got large hands, so I tend to like something I can get a bit of grip on. I don't like to feel as if I'm squeezing into a knife. So it's just, and like there's a difference. I've got large hands, you've got baby hands.
And We call them princess hands.
Princess hands, and it feels just as comfortable in yours as it does in mine.
It really does. I mean, it's just a lovely size of knife, and I mean, I have to say, but it's the design of it. You know me. I like kind of freaky knives anyway at the best of times, and this isn't way out there, but it's just got enough. It's what you were saying about personality. It's got character.
Yeah.
I quite right. Okay, we're half an hour in, and we haven't shut up banging on about how good this knife is. All right. So that, I mean, we have to.
Doesn't hurt my feelings
a little bit. I mean, these guys are going to be thinking that we're doing nothing but blowing smoke up your ass, Joe. So I mean, let's ease back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I would like to know is, what were the biggest problems you had producing this?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, I guess honestly, the biggest thing was figuring out a good workflow for the blade steel. The handle materials are relatively straightforward. There's not a lot of inbuilt stress. For those wondering, I buy my my 20 CV directly from the States. It comes precision ground, so I know I pay a little bit more for it, but I know exactly what the thickness of that blade steel is. Every single time it arrives, all I need to do is clean up the surface, because it usually gets a little dinged up in shipping, unfortunately, but nothing I can't fix.
But why is that important, Joe? I'm playing devil's advocate. Why is that important?
So it's important because you have to think about your internal tolerances when you're machining this kind of stuff. So, and this is obviously, again, friction folder, very basic in terms of construction, but to give you an idea, you have 2 flat planes on the inside of the handle, right? You have barrel spacers, and I believe these guys are still used. Yeah, I think these are still out of the 17.7 or 17.4 stock. Very tough stuff, by the way. Very tough, very stainless. And so I can get these barrel spacers that are high quality, durable, never have to worry about them, at a known thickness. And I know that I get the blade stock at a known thickness. So then I also need to track down copper washers that are a known thickness. This thickness here needs to match this backspacer in order for everything to function properly and smoothly and not be strange. So it was kind of serendipitous that I was able to find this blade stock at the exact right specification to work with all the other parts I had access to. And to be clear, I don't have a mini lathe yet. I'm not making my own hardware in-house. The knife would be a bit more expensive if that was the case. But they're T15 Torx. All of the screws are the exact same size. I didn't want people having to screw around looking for different bit drivers. There was actually a point in time where these were using Phillips and flathead screws, because I wanted guys to be able to take them apart just like that with a Swiss Army knife. But people reacted very poorly to seeing a Phillips screw on anything that wasn't an Emerson. So so there was that. But honestly, it was the blade, figuring that out, getting that all ironed out. And there's so many little details. It's hard to pick, like, what was the most annoying detail out of all of this? Yeah.
And how long has that process been to where you are now? How long from you were at college to where you are now? How long has that process taken you to get to here?
Well, that's a good question too, because I started development in that was my last year at ACAD when I started putting all this together. So I think the process, it got finalized probably around 2019. A little bit before that, 2018 or late 2018. Had everything kind of figured out. I knew how things were going to go, but then there were little refinements here and there that actually have gone up until just this past summer. I swapped over from using screws to hold down everything to using these movable clamps. Which actually helped quite a bit, but it's you never stop looking for things to improve. Whether it just means that I can make things faster or I can make them more accurately, anything I can do to kind of reduce overhead on my end and then potentially pass along savings. That was actually a big thing with the carbon fiber too, was finding a reliable source for carbon fiber. Previously, I had to work with brands like Fat Carbon, which great stuff, very pricey, per the volume.
I think when you're a custom maker, you are buying in smaller volumes, unless you're a real, rather rich custom maker. After years of experience, you can.
You're entirely right. And just briefly, I'll mention that I can't really get into detail on specifics because the whole project's kind of hush hush right now. But there's a fixed blade I'm going to be doing a collaboration with in in the near-ish future, and we're in the process of looking up pricing for some of the steel, and it is much less expensive to buy great big slabs of like sheets of the stuff as opposed to buying what I have to do for most projects, which is like little bar stock piece by piece. It's a different world in terms of pricing. But when you're a custom maker and you're only making like 12 or 20 knives at a time, it's not always the most economical thing to do. Yeah.
Here's a question: how long would it sort of take to make one knife from start to finish? Have you got a timing for that, or is that something you'd rather just keep private?
Well, I'll tell you what I quote, guys. As far as I just had to quote this recently. So it's It's a 2-week turnaround for somebody to place a custom order for me to make it and ship it. 2 weeks and 2 weeks from the time the materials arrive. That gives me enough room to get things mailed out in a timely fashion. Everything done up properly. I can send in progress photos if guys are interested for the more finicky stuff. But to be honest, as far as each individual knife, it's hard for me to quantify because I tend to do them in batches of 6 or more. So I could do two batches a week if I was doing it full time, which isn't at a place that's not quite where I'm at yet. But so around 24 or so per week wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility.
That's quite a quick turnaround for a custom knife. And yes, I know people keep having this argument about custom knives, about, if you're using CNC, is it really custom? Well, of course it is. The amount of time you have to put into learning CNC is not something you do overnight. It's not a quick, come round to my house and I'll show you how to do it and we'll have a beer. It's quite an in-depth, and especially if you want to do something as specialized as the blades that you're doing, that's an awful lot of detailed work.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I'm thankful I went through the schooling that I did, and I know all these handwork techniques. I know about steel and materials now, but man, oh man, some of the handiwork out there that guys do, it's absolutely insane. All of the big bulk of my work is figuring it out how to make it run properly. That's the big thing.
Yeah. Sorry, Emil, if you want.
No.
Any questions?
I'm just watching the chat, guys, because sort of Alana had been asking me to put your IG and your website in the chat, so I was just getting that sorted out. Can't find your website. You don't have a website. Is it all on IG?
It's all on Instagram for now. I do have a thread running on bladeforums.com where I will accept custom orders. Gives a good breakdown of everything. I am in the process of getting a website done. I forget if I'd mentioned this to Stephen or not, but there's an issue with a lot of website hosters where they don't really like knives. They just view them as weapons, and rather than deal with the legal ramifications, they're just like, we're not going to support you if you're a knife company, or maybe we'll freeze your accounts. Or I've heard Shopify is better than they used to be, for instance, but I haven't finished doing a good comparison, so it will be coming.
IG is a good place to sell knives as a custom maker.
Yeah, but it is kind of reflective of an awful lot of things that are happening on social media at the minute. It's getting narrower and narrower. We seem to be being pushed to the very edges.
You just hit that there. It's maybe better to have two options in case one.
That's a good point.
The way the world is at the minute. 1 week, one company can just say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. And if you don't have a second option, you could end up, that could hurt.
Yeah, so I've just found the Blade Forums thing. So guys, if you want to look and get a wee bit more detail, there's a couple of videos on there of Joe's knives as well. So it's just to do a Google search for Blade Forums Joe Lapieta, and then that'll probably help you find, or even do Joe Lapieta knives, and it'll probably give you the Blade Forums link. And there's lots of full glorious Technicolored photographs in there. As far
as good as mine will be tomorrow.
Of course not, Stephen.
Nope.
Of course not. Okay. Just bear in mind that there's always a second option. No, just to give you a break from this interrogation that we're giving you, Joe. There's a lot of interest in Stephen. I mean, I'm sorry, kiddo, but you've got your work cut out for you. Actually, choosing who to send this knife to you. Because
and to be honest with you, at this beginning structure, I'm going to pick probably 4 people, and I'm going to limit it to sort of...
It was 3 a minute ago.
Well, yeah, 3 or 4. I'm not sure how many people I like. I don't have many friends.
don't have any friends. You got
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
and I don't qualify because you
But-
pay me for that. I mean, sorry, no.
What I'm going to do is for this initial thing, it's it's gone out to Frank at Fraymar Knives, and just a little touch on Frank at Fraymar Knives. You're not going to put yourself in better hands than Frank. He's been in the business for longer than he'll care to remember. He has rubbed shoulders with the likes of Chris Reeves, all them top makers. He's had Chris Reeves over. They went to see the Isle of Man TT. So it's not just a hello friendship.
Uh-huh.
They've actually had holidays together and visit each other when they're out in America. So he's been in this business a long time. It's a mama's and papa's sports shop. It does guns and knives and things like that we don't do. Excuse me.
I know what the two of us are like.
Yeah.
Like consumptive poets
So,
at the minute. It's bad.
Yeah, Frank is a really good. If you get Jack Wolf knives, that's where they come from. So this is somebody who's used to high-end knives and selling them, and you get that sort of service. And
So I mean, if you've never been to the Fraymar website, go there and it'll knock your socks off. Apart from anything else, it's a real difference. It makes a change from Heine. You know where we always go now. Heine's great. Don't get me wrong. Fraymar gives you a slice of how the other half left, because it's Jack Wolf and it's things like giant mouse. And you've also got Randall knives in there, I think, as well. I mean,
he does Randall knives.
Jeepers, you know. And I mean, if you've ever wanted to drill over a Randall fixed blade, then by all means, go there.
The other thing that I often tell people to do with even just the Jack Wolf coming out is go and see his pictures. His pictures are just class.
Fantastic.
Nothing flashy, just detailed picture, and that's what you want to see in your knife.
But that's Frank. In terms of the other people, just to give an idea, we've got now. He has to be in there somewhere. Now, Mikey Newman's been threatening to start his channel for months now. We've been threatening to come over there and beat him up unless he does start the channel. But if he wants to review this night, it's got to be a debut.
Let's no. I'm not letting him loose if he's terrible. I mean, Mikey's going to be either brilliant or a flop. Let's be honest.
Well, he does have performance issues.
Yeah. So, Mikey, if Mikey came on the show next week and done the review that he was going to do for us, and we like his review, we'll send him the knife to review.
Mikey,
there's the challenge.
This challenge has been made. The gauntlet has been thrown down. You have been slapped in the face. We will meet you behind the cathedral at 6 next week. Be there, be square. And we're not the only ones. We have also got, I think, Gus is dying to see this puppy.
Yeah.
And Gus, you're definitely on the short list, mate, especially after that last one you did on the canoe. I was touched. And I have to say that I couldn't imagine a better end to that story. It was just the case canoe, fantastic end to that story. I think I'll remember that for as long as I live, and never mind yourself. And it's always lovely to have a wee bit of a personal connection to any one of your lives, but that was a great one. This one, hopefully, I'll put in a good word with you. Okay?
The thing is, I've got so many people who I want to send it to, but what I don't want to do, and what I see happening so often, is the knives are sent out to 10 people. It takes nearly a year to get round them because people don't post them, they don't give them back. This knife, when it's finished, has already been paid for by Jud. Or paid for when it comes back in.
Yeah, so it back to me.
I want people to look after them. This is not a torture test. It's out to review the knife as a knife that we're going to use for EDC. And that's what it is. So I'll pick 4 people to start with this time, and then let things settle, then I'll do it again. I'd rather have 4 different people in a 3 months' time. I'll send mine out the next time, so you'll get a different knife. And I think that's a better way of doing it than just bombarding. You get 2 weeks of everybody doing the same knife.
And we'll get a wee bit of longevity going and spread it over the course of the year.
I think this is going to be such a good show. I don't think we have to be doing it every day.
No, I don't.
To me, it annoys me more than it does anything else when I see so many people doing reviews. So I'm going to, if you don't get this time, you'll probably get the next time. That's the way.
There's a wee vote of confidence for Frank in the service that Fraymar Knives offers from Midnight Crisis. So absolutely, I think it's a service much desired. And here's another question, but it's enough to get back the spotlight's back on you, Joe, and the land's brought us back to reality. Another difficult question for you. What quality control checks do you go through?
Several. So let's start with material process then. I'll try not to be too long-winded with the answer here, but long and short of it is whenever I get anything, it doesn't matter if it's screws, it doesn't matter if it's barrel spacers, or if it's the raw material for the handles, or if it's the blade stock. I have to make sure that all of these materials are what they claim to be. So I don't have the equipment to say like I think it's called a radio spectrometer. I don't have that kind of stuff to be able to test that it's 20 CV. I just trust that the company has set me the correct steel, and that when I run it through heat treat, I should get the proper results. And I usually keep a blade from every batch to play with and test and just make sure that, yep, okay, this bar is acting the way it should. I cleaned it up. Usually sell at a slight discount if there's any kind of major damage, I'm honest, and had to then go back and fix. But as far as material process step by step, it's checking that the screws are obviously like the stem length is the correct size, because I had one mix up with that. I gave the manufacturer a lot of crap over it, so that was not great. I had a whole box of screws that had to be tossed basically because they were all the wrong size and they didn't want them back for return. So yeah, checking things with calipers, making sure you have everything's within stock of measurement. Making sure your carbon fiber doesn't have any obvious voids, which are not going to show up on this camera, even if they were there. This lighting is so poor. I do apologize for that, guys. But yeah, just a cursory inspection of the material to make sure that there's everything is the way it should be. For myself, when I'm manufacturing stuff, the big thing is making sure that I have a blade set aside in my workshop. That's it was milled with all new bits, and it's within it's as close to my tolerances as I can get. And so every blade gets compared to that one. And if there's a significant deviation from that, then I know immediately that, okay, something's off. I either need to change bits, or I need to make sure that my centering is correct, make sure that I've zeroed everything out the way it should have been. Because I'm a human, accidents happen, but I'd rather they not cost me any more time or wasted materials, the most important one for me, at least, because all of that stuff is like, yeah, it's mostly checking boxes. I very rarely have any real issues with any of that stuff. The big thing is making sure I've done the heat treat correctly. I do all my own heat treating in house. I had used a couple of local services, and they're good, but it is expensive to send batches of blades back and forth. And were I doing one-off custom, like big pieces, intricate, whatever, then maybe I'd continue to use an outside source. But in order to make sure it's exactly the way I want, I use aluminum quench plates. They've been milled, I won't say perfectly flat, but sorry, my dog is going off here, going pretty flat, making sure that the hardness is correct. So I do have Rockwell files I use to make sure everything's dialed in. And I aim for between 61, 62 Rockwell. So not so hard that you should be having problems with chipping through regular EDC, but not so soft that you're going to be worried about rolled edges or things like that.
And a 20 CV steel deserves a good heat treatment, a good hard heat treatment like that. So, because it will take it.
Yes, I am actually, and for those worried at all when they hear those numbers, like I am following Laren Thomas's recommendations. Go read Knife Still Nerd's website; it's fantastic. Yeah. So I take that information as, once again, I refer back to that earlier advice. Listen to experts, listen to people who know what they're doing, and when it comes to stuff like that, I absolutely defer to the metallurgists and the experts for heat treatment. But yeah, once all that's done. As long as it fits properly, there's no weird wiggle in the blade. Everything's set correctly. It's usually a pretty straightforward experience. I've not had any problems. Yeah, 20 CV is a fantastic steel. Yeah.
This is what you're doing that I like about Jack Wolf. A company that's using sort of reviewers like me, who I'm not a particularly big channel, but I'm really passionate about getting new people on the channel and following up. And I've been able to do that with Jack Wolf. And the personal touch really means that when you're buying a custom knife, or like Jack Wolf are not custom, but they're as good as, you know what I mean? But when you can talk to the maker, and I mean, you're going to be on the show now, on a regular basis, as we sell thousands of these knives throughout the UK. And people are going to be able, well, this happened to me. And I will always look. We're all human, and all knife makers. Something can slip through the door. You don't. That's not what you set out to happen. You hope it's not going to happen. But if it does, my biggest part is what do they do about it?
Yes. It's that
And that's
service
more
that's after
important
the
because
fact. Yeah.
this is of enough money that I expect good things from it.
Yeah.
I don't expect.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's all right. I expect good things. And I've got this here. I've got 2 examples of it. I have another example of it, the blade covering, and they're just so well made, precise.
This is a bit of a sensitive issue at the moment about a particular knife, but we're not going to go into it right now. Okay, we're not going to go into that right now.
Well, I just think that a lot of companies bring misfortune on themselves,
yes,
and have done over the years. Lots of big companies and big custom makers have flopped because of not doing the basics right, which is fit finish.
And it's just due diligence.
Yeah, it's not
anything else. It's just
you're not asking the impossible.
Yeah, exactly so.
I think that's really important. So it's nice when you have somebody in front of you who's got as much skin as you have in the game. You want to make this a full-time occupation. So it's really important to you that what you're putting out is going to be exactly what you're saying. And that's Absolutely. The bit I like. I like that we can get him by the collar if something goes wrong.
Absolutely.
But I don't see that.
Speaking of something going wrong, though, I mean, Mikey's already trying to get out of this, and he is claiming humility and performance anxiety, apart from anything else. However, I'm glad to see that the Pep Squad on the other end of things, our own Gadget Gus. I would echo Gadget Gus's sentiment here. Come on, Mikey, you can do it. You can do it. Come on. We want to see it happen.
So we've got that set in stone now. Mikey is coming on next week to do his first live.
I don't think he can back out.
No, he can't.
He's told us
he's going to do his first live, and I'm guaranteeing him because I've heard him talk. He can talk, and he's a good talker, and I think he'll make an excellent reviewer.
He's a good talker.
He will be one of the 4 who'll get this knife if he does a good job next week.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Gus is also saying that he approves your plan. He thinks it's a good idea to start moving this stuff around. And I mean, I think it'll be nice to see. Apart from anything else, it's a lovely opportunity to get some new products out there and share it with the guys.
How often do we get something that's not new, that's not coming from China, Civivi, where you get 20 a month? How the hell can you review 20 knives in a month? I just don't know how to do it. I couldn't. It would kill me. So this is different than Civivi, and they make great knives. There's nothing wrong with them. Great knives. But I just don't want to find 20 knives on my doorstep every month that I'm going to have to review because I would end up shooting myself.
So once every blue moon, is absolutely grand.
Here's a big question, Joe. Are you going to do anything else other than slip joints?
Well, he's talked about a fixed blade.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fixed blade for farmers.
There you go. Yeah. I do have plans for more folders. We were talking on our first call at around 5 a.m. your time. Again, sorry about that. We were talking about how case they have that thing called a rust lock.
Yeah.
Thinking about doing for guys who don't like straight up friction folders. I was thinking about doing something similar where there would be an internal back spring, just to give it a little bit. Yeah, so a back spring like that, but no lock, so it would still be okay for daily carry for you guys. But it would have a back spring instead of a liner lock there. I've already played around with some drawings. It looks like it might be a little bit tricky to pull off, but it shouldn't be the end of any worlds. So
just do me a favor though, Joe, would you? And sorry to get personal and all that with Case, but that's a freaking ugly knife.
Oh, I think it's not. To me, that's a prehistoric dinosaur shape.
Yeah, dinosaurs were dinosaurs because they were freaking ugly.
I called it my pterodactyl.
Joe, I apply the same degree of style sense that you've applied to the academic. Please come up. A rust lock, the mechanism, no problem whatsoever. Agree with the principle, but definitely go for a elegant, beautiful blade.
Oh, I will be taking some time with the design phase. Absolutely. And I will be doing some actual locking knives as well. That is something I've been trying to get up and going. Locking knives, I know, are a little bit less interesting for day-to-day carry for you guys, generally speaking. But it is something I'm also looking at for the Canadian and American markets too.
But it does beg the question, if you're thinking about a knife with a back spring, even if it is the rust lock, of which we will speak no more along, and in spite of the fact that Mikey loves the rust lock, but then yeah,
I love it.
Mikey, well, your opinions no longer matter in that case. But what I'm trying to get at is, if you're going to put a back spring in, slip joints, my man, why not?
Yeah. Slip joints. It is something I've wanted to do for some time. And I'm trying to find an example here to show what I mean, but I just can't find it. The problem with doing a back springs on a CNC, it's kind of tricky. So I know that's how, like, we were just talking about Jack Wolf, yeah. So, so they do. I'm pretty sure a lot of that stuff is done on mill, and I want to do something a little bit of a departure from it. I want to do more modern. Like, I want it to fit within the same sort of aesthetic that this guy sits in. But I want to do it with traditional profiles, right? So I want to blend the two. I don't want to completely surrender my identity to blades that have been around for hundreds of years at this point. But there is a lot of research, right? Sorry?
There's a lot of companies doing modern slip joints.
Yes.
And to me, I think it's just a phase, and it'll go away quickly.
So I have noticed that, and again, part-time working in a knife shop, I've noticed a lot of these trends, and we all the guys, we all pay attention to this kind of stuff, and we talk about it fairly regularly. And it definitely is one of these things. Jack Wolf, I think, has survived so long because the execution is just so on point. In terms of anything else that's out there, that's probably like the prime example of, like, yes, this is beautiful execution, excellent design language, and they have a mission statement and they've followed through with it, right? So when it comes to me doing slip joints, like, there are a handful that I want to do. Barlow's in particular, Doctor's knives are another one because I've always had a soft spot for them. And for, maybe there's a different name. I'm not an expert with slip joints, but like these folding patterns with the nice skinny pen blades and a little spatula on it, that kind of thing.
Doctor's knife.
Doctor's knife, yeah. So
yeah, with the flat hand and the back,
yeah. So I've always thought these were super cool. So that is something I would like to do in the future. But I think the locking folder will be the next thing that takes priority once things start rolling here with the friction folders.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. I'm sure you've obviously thought of it. This is another little friction folder I have. This is from Karoo from South Africa.
Yes, I've seen his work. Yeah.
He makes this little dinky one. He makes a full-size one of it. But this is another one that the ergonomics that he has on his are just, it's 3 fingers, but by gosh, you get a great grip. It's a great secondary knife to carry along with this. If there was a baby version, is that something you've thought of?
I've thought about it. It would probably be a fairly different looking design. I designed the Academic from the ground up to basically be the largest knife that people could reasonably carry legally in most places. But I wanted it to be a hard-working knife. So there were certain design choices, like going with a 1/8 inch thick blade stock. Instead of going for something thinner, I wanted it to be a bit more robust and just come down to a fairly fine edge. A baby version, I'm not sure that it would take the same form. For one, I think the blade would probably be more broad to account for the fact that it's that much shorter. It may not be the same blade steel. It definitely wouldn't be the same stock thickness. So it's possible, but it would take on a bit of a different form, I think. I don't think it would be like how Benchmade did the bug out and then the mini bug out, or Spyderco did the Para 2 and then the 3. I think there would be some significant differences between the two.
Yeah.
If people now, that being said, all of that being said, I have gotten requests for shorter blades, believe it or not. So full size handle, but this is one where I've been playing around with, and I'm not 100% sure if I want to take it even smaller or not. But this one's just a little bit shorter, a little bit of a snubbier blade.
Yeah.
So I have been playing with modifying the blades and seeing if there's anything else I can do with them. It is on my radar, but
it's funny. Yeah. I've asked this to some other makers. Do you know I really love is the old like a trapper knife, but with a big bow blade. What do you call it?
Cotton sampler?
No, the other one that we can never get.
Oh, the Spey.
No, the oh gosh, Stephen, it's gone out of my head. Oh, I think is it Canadian? No.
Oh,
the
Summy Nesmuk.
Nesmuk.
Yes. Nesmuks, yes.
You
okay.
Would a thin type of Nesmuk blade fit in something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely make something that would work. The difficulty is there's honestly the width of stock I make. That's funny. The width of stock I get isn't really that much more wide than this. So there's a little bit of room for playing with profiles, but part of the reason I'm able to keep costs down is because I'm not buying more stock that I need. Keeps the wear on my tools down. It means I don't have to buy as much weight of steel. I'm not removing this much steel, so it doesn't take as long. So there are a few things, but I could be convinced. I could be convinced to do it.
And do you take individual custom orders?
I do, but for the moment, it's just limited to custom versions of the friction folder, the academic, mostly because right now I'm trying to catch up on some backlog of getting back to people for orders for these things. Like I'm trying to make sure I don't fall too far behind with this stuff. But if you had a specific, and this is something that this is a ways off, so don't think this is something that you could talk me into any sooner than maybe a couple months, maybe a year from now, at earliest. But I have started playing around with a modular clamping system and work holding system that would allow me to take custom orders for your own customized profile for a friction folder. Yeah, so that's tricky.
It's out there, Joe. It's too late. You've said it now.
It's going to cost you. I'll tell you, it's not going to be that, but because it will be a truly custom experience every single time. But I'm trying to find a way to streamline it in such a way that the average person could either send in drawings or have a simple vector drawing sent to me, and then I could work off of that. It is something I'm looking at down the line, but minimum. I don't even know. Minimum probably $450 Canadian. Choices of steel are going to be.
Yeah, just talking about the extra materials, the custom materials, the variation in the design, and even the wastage, as we were talking as well. Because if you have to get more steel to make it, it's a mind. Now, on the plus side, what you have done with the conversation today? I mean, have you seen the comments in here about the number of?
I've been trying to keep an eye.
Yeah, number of people who are now going to go out and look at friction folders. Ford Peasant is going to get sold out.
It's a nice
little knife. It's a great little guy. I'm not going to sit here and criticize it all night, but there's reasons I changed what I did. But I still do carry this from time to time. It's still a great little piece. Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people would say, I mean, less likable people is all I'm saying, have suggested that as an option for your next marketing move, if you do a bigger and a larger model, you can you can call the larger model the Paddy and the smaller kids model. Thank you, Mikey. The Jud.
Yeah. Don't forget we're judging you next week. Be careful, Big Al. Every week, Joe.
Of course. I wouldn't expect anything else, right? Yeah.
Don't make me stand up again, lads. Don't make me stand up again.
Oh no, I again. That was the
one thing I am planning on doing, mostly for myself, is to do a blade up and do it at 59 millimeters. I don't know what the 3-inch to millimeter conversion is, but for those unaware, within Canada, if you're flying nationally, you can take up to a 6-centimeter blade. So I'm going to ride that right up to the line and then start being able to travel with one of these guys. Because I've been doing trade shows.
58 a 58 millimeter would be like the Victorinox Classic. So it's about that size. Yeah, up to 6 centimeters.
Think so? Yeah, pretty close. I you know what? I have a handy dandy ruler right here. Why don't I just pop that up and see?
Now, are you talking blade side? Are you talking knife?
Blade size.
Yeah, that would know.
Yeah,
the
so
58 millimeter blade
probably
would be bigger.
another centimeter shorter than even this little guy. Yeah.
Huh.
But
What sort of shape of a blade would you put on that knife?
so that's the thing. I'm not 100% sure. I really like this sort of clip reverse Tonto thing I've been working with right now. But I've thought about doing something more like a Kephart style, where it comes in evenly from both sides, much like a Swiss Army knife does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to make a couple test blades and see what I think.
You know what I think would be brilliant at that? A sheep's foot. Because it's a small blade. A sheep's foot, you always want to get your finger up to the end of it for delicate cutting and tracing, or you know what I mean? It's it.
because of how narrow the handle is, there's not really a lot of room for oh wow, it's gotten dark in here. Yeah, there's not a lot of room with the way the blade sweeps down. For me to have a Wharncliffe or a sheep's foot this size. But if I were to just shrink the blade and then make a Wharncliffe or sheep's foot,
I'd go even better than that. Say a lamb's foot, because the lamb's foot blade, each end,
a little bit of a.
No, it actually just comes straight down like a sheep's foot, but it's
really? Okay.
It's larger at the base and it gets thinner as it comes down, and it's a much more integral knife for doing. I'll show you. I've got one here.
Yeah, if you have one handy, that'd be excellent.
Yeah. Is this one a lamb's foot? I think this might be a sheep's foot. No, that's a lamb's foot. There you go.
Hold on a second.
Let's
blow this up.
There's a.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
You see what I mean? And
yes, absolutely.
This is a very British pattern, a lamb's foot, very popular with manual workers, with farmers, because it can get into places. You don't have that tall sheep's foot. You've got a little narrow, and it's great for getting into cut things where you've got to put it in small places.
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
And I mean, you could market that as a kind of whittler. The whittler pattern. There's been quite a lot of chatter around the whittler pattern, just as in terms of popularity. I've been noticing of late. So
I love the whittler pattern. I think it's a good pattern, but I think that is, to me, rather than a sheep's foot, that is much more a whittling knife. Yeah. And if you're making it shorter, it's even better because you've got complete control of a full handle.
Right up to it.
You've got a full handle. That would be an excellent whittler.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that too. Yeah,
definitely. I think you should. Right, we're over the hour, fellas. So, in my usual role of dictator and, and tyrant of the channel, we are going to draw it to a close. But I'd like to thank everybody in the chat for sticking with us, because you guys always make it worthwhile. And it's been a lot of fun listening to or responding to some of the comments in there. And thank you again for giving Joe such a positive welcome back. Joe, thank you to you for joining us again, especially at such short notice. So and thank you for sending these over. Absolutely, it's been a pleasure to see them.
Oh, thank you guys for checking them out and being so gracious with the method and timing of their arrival.
Hey, these are hiccups that we'll sort out.
Yeah, it's life. One, I'd just like to thank Mikey for coming on next week. So please come along next week. Mikey's going to do about a 20-minute, 15-20-minute, or even 10 to 15 minute.
I'd be surprised if he can talk for 3.
But he's going to do a nice review. And depending on his review, whether we send him this out to review for the channel.
And we all know that it will be a democratic decision, because we will throw the voting over to you guys in the box. Okay? It won't be our decision.
Oh, we won't listen to them, but we'll let them think.
Yes. Sorry, did you say that out loud? Sorry.
Sorry, we're still live. Yeah, of course you'll have a final decision.
Joe, Baron, Joe's podcast is the Pokey Factor. Is that right?
Yeah. So definitely more of a review channel for production stuff. But yeah, we have a good laugh. Lots of foul language as well. So maybe not for kids, but
yeah, it's banter. It's not. It is just friendly banter. Justin has gone and put that down in the description there. So
for some reason it's not taking it.
Oh, there. Yeah. Oh no. What's that say?
Have we lost the connection? Oh, that's weird. Right, guys, we're gonna bail out here because it looks like our internet is going a wee bit funny. But But thank you all for joining us. Joe, absolute pleasure again, and we'll hope to see you again shortly. Okay.
And we wish you
Thanks for
every
guys.
success. And we thank you for choosing the UK as a first sort of big outlet outside Canada. I really appreciate it, and I hope all of our subs do as well.
Sean, stop giving Mikey ideas. Stop.
No, I'm not even going to challenge him.
No.
No.
Guys, thank you very much. Joe, you're a star. Hang around and we'll wrap this up at the end. Thank you guys, and all the best. See you next week again.
Bye now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great show. I enjoyed that, man.
That was great crack. Well done, Joe,
Bye.
for keeping that one going.
No worries.
Are we still on? Are we
So
still on?
it still says we're live
Yeah, it hasn't
on
ended yet.
StreamYard. Interesting.
Yeah. Mikey is one ugly man.
He
is
he's
one
a beautiful
ugly-
he's a beautiful fella, but we really have to do something about his confidence.
He's got the heart of a pig. Let's be honest.
I know, but that was the transplant, Stephen.
He's a truffle hunter. That's the end of it. What's happening here?
Oh, it's not letting us. It's not letting us out.
Oh, you'll have to stay on, boys.
Well, there we go. Wonder if chat. Okay, we are still live. Video's
Yeah.
frozen on my end here. It
Yeah.
still says we're live, but it's frozen.
Right, I think we're going to have to end it. Joe, we'll say goodbye to you, kiddo. Can't let you get away. And hopefully we'll talk to you very shortly in terms of what's happening with these. Okay, and because I'm going to just pull the plug and leave this. All right, that seems like the only way to end this stream.
That's fair. All right.
Yo, you've got my number. Anytime, just give me a ring, night or day. I'm usually up at that stupid hour in the night anyway.
Yeah, we know, Sean. We're trying to escape, but for some reason you guys won't let us. It's like we're possessed by YouTube. Okay, I'm going to cut the cord on this one, and we'll see you soon. All the best.
Take care, everybody. Cheerio, Joe. Take care, man. Thanks very much indeed.
Bye, guys.
The studio. It's not even letting us do that. No.
Yes.